Hey y'all, welcome to another episode of SJGames Live. I'm Hunter and I'm here with Sean.
Hey,
Introduce
gang.
yourself. We live?
Anyway, yeah.
Cool. Sorry, we were getting make sure we're live. We're on a live call, folks. So we're just working out technical details. I'm here with Sean Punch. We're going to be talking the new GURPS PDF Challenge Kickstarter. How are you doing today, Sean?
Doing great. Thanks, Hunter. How about you? What's it like in
Doing
Texas
well,
right
especially
now?
with how the project's doing.
Yeah,
Very quickly unlocking stretch goals.
happy about that.
Yep. Only $100 from the next one. We'll get to that in a second. Hopefully, we'll unlock it during the call. We'll talk about some more. But we're doing an interview. We want to let you guys know in the comments we're dropping a link to the Kickstarter itself if you want to check it out. And if you have any questions or anything like that for Sean, just drop those in chat. We're going to try to keep it about an hour, but if you guys have any questions, we can ask it towards the end. Just let us know. And, if we cover it during the talk, just naturally, we might not ask them directly, but just letting you guys know. Uh, so, uh, so just to get started, this is a sequel campaign to our GURPS PDF Challenge 2020, which was pretty much a breakout success for us. A really surprising success. We hoped it would be successful, but it was even more successful than we had hoped. Were you surprised at how successful that was, and how fast after that did you get started on this next project?
I was pleasantly surprised. Like, I didn't think it was going to tank or something like that. But at the same time, we'd never done it for groups before. So I had no idea what to expect. Really, none of us did. And when I saw those numbers tick over and realized, oh, there are actually people who actually care about this and they're really seriously willing to back this. And sometimes, some cases, big pledges. I was like, yes, this is great. This is good to know because, sometimes I work remotely. You don't get this great feeling about how the game's doing or how well it's selling. I can ask for sales figures, but they don't tell you much. But at Kickstarter, you get that feedback, and I was so thrilled to see it happening. I didn't sleep very much that campaign there. This one, I'm going to sleep better. But yeah, so that was good news. As for when we started this one, it's kind of interesting. We had one. I'll confess that there's one that was actually written for the last one that didn't get under the wire. So in a sense, we had already started on this one last time. That was David Pulver's, which is already unlocked now. It's the second stretch goal, Green Madonna.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So he had that almost ready to go, and then we got it ready, and it was just it missed it. Like, I checked the date just to be sure I wasn't imagining that, and it's like, no, man, he missed it by like so little. So that's when we get started. But right away after that, it was already a given that we're going to do it again. We didn't start hounding authors for content right away, though. We sort of wanted to let things sort of mellow a bit. And also, there's the fact that we had the Pyramid Kickstarter in the middle of there,
Mm-hmm.
and there were some of the same people involved. And we thought, yeah, we didn't want our freelancers and staff to be crossing the wires too much on those two because they're very different kinds of projects, and
Sure.
having people writing long and short content and editing article length content and editing books, it's just like it gets to be a mess. So we wait till after that, but that's almost right away we started thinking about it after that.
That's cool. Yeah, and you don't want to burn people out, especially freelancers having to write a bunch of fantasy stuff.
The last year and a half have been really tough. I mean, we have a tendency to forget how tough they've been for a lot of people because I work full time for 26 years online. So for me, it's just kind of like business as usual. Then I hear from some of my freelancers, I'm locked in the basement with a computer and nothing to do. And you said, should I give them more work, or is that kind of like making them crazier? It's sort of hard to call. So you kind of want to be a little chill.
Yeah, it's a tough balance, especially you're working at home and you're freelancing in that case, so you're having to balance a lot more. Like us being full time, we have a little more stability, I'd say, probably than for freelancers. So it could be a little tougher. Uh, yeah. So I mean, you kind of hinted at that. You're not just working with one author. We're working with a variety of people with the GURPS PDF challenge. Is that helpful? Are there challenges that come with that? How has this experience changed now that you've done two of these projects?
To be honest, like, there's a couple answers. Since we got enough time, I can give more than
Please.
quick one word answer. Yes, no, maybe. It's from an editorial point of view, it's way more fun because you see really very different writing styles, types of content coming your way. You're not, oh, back to the salt mines of editing the 200-page book, which has exactly the same voice and everything. I'm not trying to rap people who've done that. I've written 200-page books. I've written longer books than that, but it's just more you're getting up in the morning and sitting down and saying, oh, what I'm working on today, oh, this is a total about face, a completely different subject from a completely different writer. From that point of view, it's great. From a dotting I's, crossing T's editorial point of view, it's a little less great because you've sort of got to change your brain to, all right, I'm editing so-and-so today, and this person speaks this way, and I don't want to mess their voice up too much in the writing, but I got to make it fit in the number of pages we got to allocate it and obey our style and so forth, which is a little bit more challenging. So it's sort of like double-edged, but the planning part is really cool because you get to deep brainstorm all kinds of people. Like a couple of these things that we have in this campaign weren't right out of the gate the ones we wanted. There were things that other writers wanted or we wanted, or maybe a little bit of both, that didn't quite meet the needs. They would end up being too long or whatever, and so, or there were too many items in a given series or something like that. So that brainstorming, okay, so what else can you do? And not to put too fine a point on it, real soon now, and that's fun. Actually, I enjoy doing that because it lets you be creative in a different way than on the page.
Yeah, I think it's really cool that you're able to also allow their voices to come through in their unique work, because I think that that's one of the coolest, most unique parts of this type of a project. You're able to have such a not just a variety of voices, a variety of themes. Obviously, if anyone wants to look at the campaign now, we have so many different themes already. We have dungeon fantasy, we've got Green Madonna, we've got what was the first one? Action. So many different themes, backgrounds, plus the different authors providing their own voice. The editing sounds like it could be tough, but it's very cool that we're able to actually release something like that where there's so much variety in one project like this.
Editing is not so tough. I want to be fair to my writers. This is invitation only, and most of the writers we engaged here are people we've worked with in the past. So it's they're known quantity. So I knew what I was getting into. I didn't like hire Joe, the famously difficult to edit guy, to write something on a tight deadline for a Kickstarter campaign. Not that Joe really exists, but if Joe existed, he maybe wouldn't have been invited to this particular project.
Yeah, I wasn't trying to bury David Pulver there. These people are all great writers.
David's a great writer and a professional, yes, and also a fellow Canadian, so it's important.
There you go.
Not that many of us in the industry. So
collusion, I like it.
A little bit, maybe.
That's also well, we've kind of dove into the different themes and the writers and stuff like that. We have, I believe we said there are 6 that have already been we can talk about essentially openly. Let's kind of talk about some of the individual projects that are on here. We opened with yours. Actually, yours was the only PDF that was unlocked, which was GURPS Action, or GURPS Action 4, right?
Action 8 twist.
Action 8. I'm sorry. Double it. Take the number, double it.
It doesn't matter. It's action. Everything is doubled.
Twists. There it is. Twists. Action 8 twists.
Yeah, twists is cool to write. Twists is action. To give you some backstory, which every GURPS fan already know, but I'm going to say it anyway. Action kind of boils down GURPS a lot, tries to make it faster, quicker, easy to run for stories that are kind of like, well, action movies, and kind of not just any action movies, but focuses on the sort of action movies of the late 70s to present. Very much, get to the choppa kind of stuff. It's not really, like thinking man's action, except that it is, because you're running a game. You can't just be cheesy about these sorts of things. And Twists says, okay, but some of the stuff we pulled out maybe still has a place in action once in a while. And I didn't say the choppa line at random. It's because Twists actually kind of touches on a couple things in there. To use Arnie as our favorite example, he exists inside a military structure in Predator, and he's fighting aliens. And both the idea of like a social structure and things that are weird and alien aren't in the baseline action. Action kind of says society, yeah, it exists. It's kind of like where you go to get guns. And aliens, they don't exist because they're not real. This says, well, maybe both of those things could be there. And it happens in a jungle. That's the third thing the action kind of leaves out, is outdoor wilderness type adventures. That's in there too. So 3 big twists. Since I had limited page count, I couldn't put 6 or 12 or 20, and I wanted to give each one a good level of coverage. But that's what it is. It's taking the basic action genre and twisting it to include a little bit more of what GURPS fans would call social engineering, or I don't know, all the weird stuff, or all the survival and wilderness type stuff.
I like all the weird stuff. That's it. That's a
Yeah,
good
me
one.
too. Actually, I've never run straight up action. All my actions got weird in it.
In my head, it kind of goes from action is like Last Action Hero, and then this adds in like your predators and aliens and stuff like that. So I like that. That's awesome. I think that's some of my favorite stuff from GURPS in general. I do like fantasy a lot, but the more terrestrial, real life, not the sci-fi, not the fantasy, but the stuff that you don't get from a lot of RPGs. That's some of my favorite stuff. But since we're on the subject of fantasy, we do have a dungeon fantasy, which is one of our more successful sublines, I'd say, of GURPS, and it's Dungeon Fantasy Encounters for Ringfort.
That's what I was really jazzed about, because it's at so many levels. First, it's from Doug Cole, who's the gaming ballistic guy, and so he's been carrying the torch of the Dungeon Fantasy role-playing game for us. He's like, I'm eternally grateful for him. He's creating this awesome setting content, and it's all sort of, it's not Viking stuff, but it's Viking themed. It's kind of like got the Viking vibe to it. The villages and the gods and the adventurers are all, and the monsters, they're all like, you can imagine they kind of come out of some kind of Norse or related mythology and history. And Ringfort is kind of like a Viking style fort, set up instead of for the Dungeon Fantasy role-playing game, for the GURPS Dungeon Fantasy series. So that means it can have a little bit more GURPS in it, which is a little more, a little more logistical, a little more detail-oriented, and it's got a cool map, and it's an awesome setup. And the thing is, I had real trouble deciding where it belonged, if it belonged in settings or encounters or what. We threw it in encounters in the end because it has the potential to be, you're walking on this road and suddenly you run into a bunch of guys patrolling saying, you owe us some tax money, buddy, and if not, they're going to whoop you real good. And it really has that character to it. And then it's a place, but it's not a huge place that everyone knows is the big city of elves. It's not like that. It's kind of a place, whoa, I didn't know this fort was here, because maybe it wasn't there last year. A lot of these Viking forts in real life were kind of long ships pull up, guys get out, they build a fort, there's a fort there for a while, then say, oh, there's nothing else here to do, we're going to leave, and they leave. So I decided in the end encounter, and it comes with a cool map, like I said, and it's from Doug, who really knows this stuff in Dungeon Fantasy. So that's one of the ones I'm really excited about.
Yeah, and for anyone who's listening for the first time, we actually interviewed Doug a little while back, I believe about a month or two ago, in regards to his Delvers to Grow campaign, which did really well. He's done a ton of Dungeon Fantasy work. I didn't know Doug had written that, but as soon as I read a Viking fort, I'm like, Doug's hand's been in this.
That's Doug.
If you checked his stuff out, he's got like Nordland sagas. He's done the Lost Hall of Tyr, Hall of Judgment. Lots of kind of Vikingish themes. He's got his world that he builds in a lot, and it's great. I'm really excited about that. I'm glad he's getting a dedicated supplement in this, because it's cool to see like a specific PDF in our mainline that kind of ties into the stuff he's been doing on his Kickstarters as well.
Yeah, I kind of was really hoping he wanted to do one. It was sort of touch and go because he's busy with his own company. Gaming Ballistics is his own company. And so I was like, well, will Doug really have time for this? But he said, yeah, for you guys, I'll make the time. So it was really cool.
Awesome. Well, I'm glad he was able to. Doug's a great guy. If you are listening to this and after this you want something else to check out, we do have that interview. It's on Twitch and YouTube, I believe. You can check that out as well. Delvers to Grow is a really cool product. It's a great starting point for Dungeon Fantasy. Great way to get going fast at the table. The next one that we've unlocked at 6K was the Green Madonna. You mentioned this one a little bit earlier. This was kind of the first of the PDFs, like you said, right?
Yeah, it's something David sort of handed in. I edited it just in case we needed a 13th product to really be the 12th product, and it was a little too late to make it in, but it was the seed really for this campaign. Is, well, we got one, we can get another 11. It shouldn't be a problem. So it's an adventure set in Age of Sail, Caribbean. Green Madonna, the original title was the Green Madonna of Port Royal, and you might even see that in some publicity
I do,
material
yes.
somewhere. But we hacked off the Port Royal just because we have a game called Port Royal. We didn't want to have people think, oh, is this some sort of GURPS crossover with that game? But it is indeed in Port Royal, which was a real place in real world, and it's pirates, and I guess you could call it a historical adventure, but you hear the sort of it's got just enough, maybe not quite real world in there, that if you want to go further, you could. Specifically, it's got hints of Templar conspiracies and immortality and Isaac Newton pulling the strings and stuff like that. So it's pretty awesome. It's kind of pirates / conspiracy.
I like that. That sounds awesome. I'm big into like the spy thief type stuff with pirating, not just the big cannons and stuff like that, like the actual swashbuckling to a degree. There's a lot of subterfuge and just underworld dealings, like with skullduggery, stuff like that. And this one's a pretty high level one too. So if you've got like higher level characters, because this says from the description, it's 150 to 200 point heroes, right?
Yeah, it's sort of just, well, I mean, to be really blunt, you could end up taking on an entire pirate crew and fighting them all. So you better be pretty good.
That could be brutal. I'm not as well versed in GURPS points values, what's the high and low, but I will say that actually this is where the Delvers to Grow helped me out a lot. He was able to give me a bit of more of a scale and a sense of what was big and what was small.
Well, for historical gaming, like straight historical gaming, ordinary folks are like 50 to maybe 100 points if they're really good at what they do. And 100 to 200 is kind of like you're already getting into like military commandos and Nobel Prize winners and really, really capable people. So in a realistic historical adventure, anything over like 100 is starting to get, okay, you have to know your stuff. You can't just be like 6th naval crew member to the right or something. You have to actually be good at something.
You're a legendary pirate versus a nobody, no name.
Yeah, exactly.
We're actually creeping up now. We're $17 away from the next stretch goal, which is this is Infinite Worlds, the Osiris Worlds.
Yeah, I've never known how to say that. It's always one of those things. Some scholar who knows about Egyptian stuff is going to now write in, but I never know if it's Osiris or Osiris. Anyway, I'm never clear on it, but I do know what's in the supplement. Phil Masters provides, to give you some sort of backstory, Infinite Worlds has the idea of timelines that are parallel to our own, where history diverged in some way. And they're there's groups that link together by similar themes. Like, I don't know, like there are lizard people, or it diverged at the Battle of Waterloo, or it's all kind of steampunk and strange, involves, I don't know, spiders. Well, this one's all like worlds where the divergences happen in the Egyptian Empire, while still a thriving entity, and these timelines are all diverging in different, interesting ways from Egyptian antiquity, and each one is very different to the next. They're not what you'd expect, and I actually think they're pretty cool. There's actually 2 of the 3 are ones where I'd seriously consider running a campaign, and the third one isn't out of the running because I didn't like it, but because I don't run campaigns in that genre. But it very much has the weird in there, and it's kind of become expected now. If you go to Egyptian mythology, were the pharaohs really gods? Who built the pyramids anyway? That kind of stuff. If you like that kind of thing, this is definitely a really awesome supplement. And using it with Infinite Worlds it's optional. You could do that. You could decide, no, I don't want to use Infinite Worlds. I just want to set my entire campaign here. There's enough there to get you started. You'll obviously want to pick up GURPS Egypt at some point if you really want to go down that road. But it's I really quite liked that one, actually. When I was reviewing it, I was like, yeah, these are some really cool worlds, because I'm not really a big cross worlds gamer myself, and so it's something that has to really sell me, but something about that really sold me.
That's the cool stuff to me, is like the alternate history, almost to a degree, but the world that you're exploring is so foreign and mysterious that it kind of makes sense. And like you said, the kind of futuristic, are they a god, are they alien type stuff for Egyptian culture is very prominent now versus where it would have been like 20 years ago potentially. I do want to mention we just unlocked it. Thanks to,
Excellent.
or I guess we didn't unlock it. The backers unlocked it. That is now available to everyone who's backing.
All right. So that's interesting. So yeah, so the last three there, I mean, Ringfort, Green Madonna, Cirrus Worlds, they're like Vikings, like real world Caribbean pirates, and like Egyptian myth, but with twists and turns if you don't want to play it straight. So it's getting back to what GURPS was famous for earlier in its life, which was historical support.
Yeah, historical support letting you do stuff off the beaten path. Like you can still play it historically, and that's great. But this is giving you new options, like you said for action. So you were adding things back in that maybe were taken out to be more realistic, and now you're able to kind of like piece some stuff back in. And I think that's what's really cool about this kind of piecemeal additional PDF content, that you can kind of like pick and choose what you want to add in and what you want to leave out. If you say want to be more historical without the aliens and stuff, you can do that, or you can throw this in. And I really dig that. So I want to thank the backers. While just take a break here and thank the backers for unlocking that. That's awesome. I do want to mention for anyone that's watching, maybe hasn't dove in, $3, you get every PDF that gets unlocked. So, you're already getting 4 PDFs, and we're hopefully going to get up to 12. We'll see if we can unlock them all. But so far so good. We're only in the first few hours of the campaign, and we're already up to 3 unlocked, and then the 1 base. So that's really great. We don't have the new stretch goal up yet, but there are a couple more that we can talk about for the keen-eyed among us. We did put a couple of them in the art, or we've talked about them. I know we have Space Atlas up here.
Yeah, Space Atlas Grissom.
Yes.
Anybody who knows their astronauts will know who it's named after. But yeah, it's another kind of setting, but unlike parallel worlds of infinite worlds, Space Atlas settings are in space. You actually visit them. You can't just jump in like you can't just dive into a special machine that takes you to another dimension. You actually have to get in a spaceship and go there. So this is I'm not going to give away too much, because I think with settings it's cool for people to find them out, but it suffices to say it's a planet where people who are self-sufficient, you could imagine them being astronauts kind of folks, would feel right at home. And it's done in the Space Atlas style, which people who are fans of 3rd edition will be familiar with, because we had a series of Space Atlas supplements back in the day. And so this world is a planet. So instead of having, say, the stats you need and the rules you need to play across time, it's got the stats and rules you need to have, planetary exploration, what kind of planet it is, what kind of space stations it's got, what kind of population there is there, what you can do there, how you can get rich, how you can get poor, how you can get hijacked, all that good stuff. And it's got, the reason I don't want to say too much more is because it's got its own twists. It's got its own twists that are pretty cool that I don't want to reveal because GMs will probably hate me. But it's nice to get back to Space Atlas. And yes, for those who are wondering out there, it's supplement like really in the old Space Atlas style, complete with the world map, the hex world map. People who are into that will know what I mean by that. The hex map, the entire world unpeeled like a grapefruit. And people like that. It's useful for playing.
We've had some comments online. I know some people caught that in our art as well. And a lot of the comments were about action. People were really excited about action, and people were really excited about Space Atlas. so those two are garnering a lot of attention from fans, because stuff that doesn't necessarily get supplements all the time as well. Like you said, we're kind of getting to revisit Space Atlas with an author who doing something new and different.
Well, I got to give him kudos, because Roger came to us with that. We didn't say, Roger, write Space Atlas for us. Roger Burton West said, oh, I'd like to do a Space Atlas. Think that would be okay? There hasn't been any Space Atlas support for 4th edition. And I thought, and Stephen Marsh asked me, do you think that's okay? And I said, man, that's more than okay. It's really cool. It's nice to have people proposing things which are not just standard wish list items, but which are completely in line with what we've done in the past and would like to continue doing. So I was really thrilled to see that. I hope there'll be other Space Atlas volumes in the future. And I like the fact the short format allows them to be a small module, not part of a huge book that maybe has 6 other worlds you don't want and this one planet you do.
Sure. And that's really cool that he brought it up too. I didn't even know that. That means he has an interest in it and wants to do it right, which is really cool. Really
Roger's a lifer with us. Roger Burton West. He's been our lead playtester on a ton of projects. He's written other content for us in the past, and he's just generally sort of a super GURPS fan who actually knows how to write, which is cool because that's how I started. So it's always great to see somebody doing things that way.
Yeah, and I should mention for the last one, we kind of just you mentioned the author Phil Masters. He's done a ton of work with us. So if you're interested in something in the like the fantasy Egyptian theme that he's got going on there, trust me, he's got experience doing that kind of stuff.
Well, I mean, yeah, Phil started writing GURPS before I worked for the company, and I worked for the company for 26 years. So
he's been doing stuff
Phil is senior
for a while.
And Places of Mystery, for example, is one of his. And needless to say, that touches on many historical themes, Egypt included. So he knows exactly what he's talking about.
Arabian Nights. Yep. A lot of ones. Discworld, one of probably our most popular ones.
Yep.
So yeah, just wanted to call that out. I believe we had another one on here that was hinted at, or one that we had revealed in something.
It's in the graphic. It's Dungeon Fantasy 22 Gates.
Oh, that's right. 99 or 22 gates. Yes.
Yeah, the graphic
Sorry,
looks like
I couldn't
99
read the graphic
if you have a small.
well.
People online were saying 99. Is that 99? It should be 99. There's gates involved. Why does it have to be in the sequential numbering? It's like I thought that would be actually cool, except I don't want to have to promise like 70 odd intervening supplements that I'm not sure will come out fast enough for people.
Jimmy said the next 77 gates is the stretch goal.
That'd be an interesting Kickstarter. Dungeon Fantasy, every number between 22 and 77 or 99 or 146.
We got 77 more gates for you.
Oh boy. Anyway, that's by Peter Delorto, who's worked on with me actually and by himself both on many Dungeon Fantasy works in the past, and he grabbed this. This is his revenge because I've written certain things he wanted to work on over the years, and this is one where he's writing something I wanted to work on. I really had gates in my sights, and he said, "I want to write a supplement about portals linking worlds and so on and so forth in Dungeon Fantasy because that's pretty much a core element of Dungeon Fantasy." And I said, "Well, if anyone's going to steal this from me, it's going to be Peter because he's one of my favorite co-authors and like he knows the stuff." He wrote for the last Kickstarter. He wrote the Mega Dungeon supplement, and this is in a way linked. Oh yeah, there's a great choice of words. Linked, yeah, but not by a gate. It's linked by writing and hard work and blood, sweat, and tears. But basically, the Mega Dungeons is the idea. Well, what if your dungeon's huge and goes on forever, and your entire campaign is a dungeon? The dungeon is the campaign. You can't separate the two. But to make Mega Dungeons work, one of the things that you sort of do, or at least traditionally you did, was have portals linking them to other places. Sometimes other places in the same dungeon, sometimes other dungeons in the same world, sometimes other worlds. And these links allow the dungeon to be, I guess you could say, bigger on the inside than on the outside. And the thing is, gates, you can just say they work, but it's really helpful to have actual input from somebody who knows what will ruin your campaign, because gates can really ruin your campaign. And Peter is a longtime Mega Dungeon GM, and he has gates galore in his Felltower world, and he knows exactly what he's talking about. Like, Peter's probably got more hands-on experience jamming fantasy in long-term campaigns than I do, and I've run a lot of long-term campaigns for a very long time, and I'd still say Peter beats me out in that category. So this is an awesome one. This is the green-eyed envy. I wanted to write it myself, but but Peter, it's a good hands with Peter.
He took it, but it's the right guy for the job for this one.
I would say so, yeah.
That's great. And this kind of goes back to what we were saying before, some of the benefits and challenges working with so many authors and just people in this project in general. It is also giving you the benefit of finding people that specialize in that certain thing that you want for a particular project, like someone who's has high working knowledge of gates, so you can do something like this. It's pretty cool. I love the fact that we have that kind of resource to pull from here with GURPS. It's been around so long. We've got so many awesome authors to help with these kind of projects.
Yeah, I can't I can't undersell how important that is, actually. It allows us to go out and pretty much get almost anything we need. And with this short format that these supplements and the last year's ones we're in, and some of our newer supplements in general are in, we can go to somebody who's been writing for years, and sort of, if they're writing for years, then by definition, they're probably somebody who's, not young like me. I'm not young. Look at all this gray hair. And
Oh, you're
that
you're
means
you're
they
you're a kid, man.
I'm a child. I act like one. But anyway, so these are people with day jobs and lives and obligations. You can't say, hey, do you want to write a 128 page or 256 page or 400-page book on X? But you can say, we kind of want this series to cover this other topic that hasn't covered before. You're really good in this material. So could you give us like, a short item that take like a few afternoons of your life and a few afternoons of our life, and we can get it out there? And that's much more reasonable. And Peter, he's got a lot going on in his day, his day job, his life. He's a martial artist. He's got tons going on. So for him to take out this length of item is perfect for our needs and for his. I think I was really happy that worked out. It's like Doug earlier. Like I said, Doug earlier he took time out of his running gaming ballistic to do this thing for us. I think if I'd asked him for 400 pages on Viking forts, he probably would have said something not polite.
He might have gone for it. If you said Viking forts, if you led with Viking forts, he might have gone for it.
This is a guy who's teaching how to fight, learning how to fight with an axe. I know when to shut my big mouth.
We love you, Doug. Sorry. That was so would you say like this short format? I mean, it sounds like it's a pretty big benefit for projects like this, obviously, but like, would you say in the future that this, with the success of this campaign, the success of the last campaign, I mean, we're probably going to see more of this in the future, right?
I would hope so. The short format has a whole bunch of benefits. One of which is that it's easier on writers because they're not committing to some huge project that's going to consume their life, which means the creativity stays fresh and their idea gets out and it gets done. And it's easier on editors because, like I said, getting up in the morning every morning to go into the 400 pages on, I don't know, spiders, salt mines. It's like spiders might be cool, but do I want to edit 400 pages about spiders and check all the stats on page 268 against the ones on page 314? It's like the answer is no, to be blunt. And finally, it brings the price down. These items, maybe collectively buying the equivalent of a long book is more expensive. But the thing is, as everyone's ever bought any game knows, you buy a game book, and sometimes it's really annoying to know you paid $46 or something for the thing where you're going to use page 14. And to be honest, GURPS is a great system, but it's big, has a lot of tools, and modularity is one of its main selling points. And actually, I think the products are more focused when they're looking at some small slice of something. I know there are going to be dissenters who say, no, examining every possible facet is much more important. But the thing is, the dissenters who feel that way don't buy as many copies as the guy who has to pay full price for page 14 and they get annoyed and they stop buying it. I think it's just a better approach, all told.
Okay, yeah, and I fall into that same camp. I'd say GURPS is awesome, but the breadth of stuff that you can do in it, there's so many themes. It can't all appeal to everyone at all times. So having smaller chunks to pull from makes it more accessible to me. Like I can walk up and say, oh, I want this, I want that, kind of pick it off the shelf. And especially for a project like this, for $3, you're getting 12 supplements. And I would pay $3 for one supplement.
I think the
I'm getting a
price
lot
is
to choose
right.
from.
Right now, there's 4 unlocked. So right now, these supplements are like 75 cents each.
Exactly.
I mean, it's already like 75 cents is in my country, at least, nobody even uses coins anymore. We just use bills. So 75 cents is kind of like, well, what do we do with the other 25 cents? And if the others open, and I really hope they open, I hope they get backed, then that just comes down. That number comes down. In a perfect world, it's like 12 for $3. That's kind of hard to beat.
Yeah, and you're getting the benefit of, like, say I'm interested in dungeon fantasy or something like that. I'm like, oh, there's 2 dungeon fantasy things. I'll pay $3 for that. I'm also getting exposed to other outlets that I may not have experience with, but I might have like a passing interest in. So now I can explore them a little bit more without necessarily breaking the bank. I'm spending, like, right now, like you said, 75 cents for a PDF. Like, you can't beat that. or until we beat it, hopefully, with more unlocked stretch goals.
Help us beat that. Yeah.
Well,
but
speaking of, Phil has posted our next stretch goal. It's Renaissance Venice Spies of
ooh,
Venice. There we go.
so I could talk about it.
You can.
Excellent. So this is another cool one that also made me very, very happy. Fans of GURPS will know that we got a series called Hotspots. And hotspots are kind of like, they're bigger than locations. Like a location's like a castle or a fort or some little spot you can go to and explore and maybe map and see it in 1 day or 2 days, or if you're lazy, maybe 3. But hotspot's bigger. It's like a city or a region or whatever. And Matt Rigsby, who's the author of Renaissance Venice, Spies of Venice, he's kind of the hotspots go-to guy. He did Venice, he did Florence, he did Constantinople. And what this is, it's not GURPS Hotspots Renaissance Venice. It's GURPS Renaissance Venice, Spies of Venice. What it is, it's kind of like if Hotspots is a series, then this is a sub-series. It's kind of, let's talk about Venice a little bit more. So he takes his Venice book, which is out there, and a really great supplement, I might add. It's like, I actually ran a short-lived campaign set there just because it was so cool. And it was short-lived because the guy who was really into Venice left town, not because it was terrible.
That'll do it.
Yeah, that'll do it every time. But anyway, so this looks at spies, and anyone who's any about Renaissance Italy knows that, yeah, it was pretty much riddled with spies. In fact, it wasn't a militarily powerful region, but it was a politically powerful region, more than in part because it was just, they were the masters of soft power, diplomacy, espionage, playing games with trade and so on, trade secrets. So spies were essential to that. And Matt he really nails it in this supplement. This is a cool supplement that if you have already Hotspots, Renaissance Venice, and maybe Renaissance Florence, because they're competitors in the big game of soft power in Italy in that era, then Spies of Venice is like giving you the tools you need to build an even bigger and better campaign. And I will add that there are at least 2 more supplements in the works, in the main regular season works, not the sort of special Kickstarter works, whose names I can't reveal because they're just too early along yet. But they will give you a big boost if that's the sort of campaign you want to use. A huge boost. So there's already a bunch of stuff for Renaissance Italy, and there'll be 2 more supplements coming out in the regular season that will strengthen the hold there. So I'm really glad to see that one coming up next. Nice. Oh, and yes, it's another historical supplement, playing once more to the strengths of GURPS and historical. This one's played a little more straight, I think. This is really straight up historical Venice, but you could, because it's spies and secrets, you could put anything you want in there.
Sure. And that sounds awesome. I think it's cool that we're able to expand on such a specific, because Hotspots in and of itself is kind of just a one world expansion, like just exploring that one thing. To have like a sub expansion of that is really cool. I love that. I did want to mention. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just saying that, and that was Matt. I was just going to give credit where credit is due. That again was Matt's proposal. He said, "Would you guys consider doing that?" And Stephen and I did our usual, and then we said yes because it was Matt.
I did want to mention a couple things. Some PDFs that are part of the campaign. They aren't stretch goals. They are in the reward tiers. How to be a GURPS GM combat encounters. This is a PDF that we did for free via our Warehouse 23 sale last week. And it is also built in as a reward level on this one. Another great PDF. I didn't want to build it into the PDF set you get for the $3 because it does cost extra. But a really useful PDF expansion to How to Be a GURPS GM. Another really good GURPS book. I believe it's available PDF and on print on demand. And I also want to mention the PDFs plus the pyramid scheme, which Sean mentioned earlier. Another kind of like project we did where it was a few smaller projects built into one to make kind of new issues of pyramid, which I think it was a really cool, really good, successful campaign for us. And this is another way to get that.
Yeah. I think actually if people want to get to the reward levels where they can sweep last year's 12, this year's 12, the 3 pyramids and that new PDF all into their virtual shopping cart. I mean, I think I'm not an expert on the War Devils for this campaign, but I believe it's possible with the right clicks and the right choices. And it's an awesome amount of content for a pretty reasonable price.
Yeah, the new PDFs plus the 2020 PDFs is $21, a little more expensive than $3 plus $3 like it was,
it's
but
still less than $1 PDF.
Exactly, still way less than $1 PDF on that. Once we unlock everything, hopefully, and then we've got. I did want to mention we have some pretty cool, like you can get Dungeon Fantasy box set stuff like that. You can also get a signed slipcase. I was actually kind of confused what I was looking at. I was walking through the office and I saw just piles of slipcases for some reason, and I was like, where'd the books go? And, I saw that Steve had signed them. So this is a reward tier for $125. It's new PDFs plus the signed slipcase from Steve. So if you're interested in that, I believe that's it. I believe that's limited. I'll double check that, but I'm pretty sure that one's a limited one. I don't think we want him sign infinite slipcases. I don't think we own infinite slipcases.
No, I think the slipcases are kind of surplus.
So we have 20 left. There were only 25 of them, so that one's going pretty quick. So I do want to. I do have a couple of questions here from the audience. Let's see. This one's interesting. Jimmy Rayner said, "Has the end of monthly pyramid issues slowed down the acquisition of new writing talent?"
I would say a little bit. It has. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I mean, I'm not going to lie. It does mean there are fewer people who are doing the short article on ramp approach to become writers for us, and that has been, I wouldn't say a problem because we're still bringing in new people, but what it has done means we have to be sensible about who we bring in. We're pickier, I guess, about the proposals we're receiving because we have no test run to look at. So we have to say, okay, this person has never done anything for us before. They want to write. Well, can we trust them? Yes, no, maybe. And not an issue trust in the legal sense or in the they're going to stab me in the back sense, but more in the sense of,
are they going to get something done on time?
We got schedules. We got schedules and budgets and all that boring business stuff that no one likes to exist in the games industry. And, we have to be realistic about that. So in that sense, yes.
Yeah, but doing stuff like Pyramid Scheme, these projects, they are letting us use different writers to a wide spread of writers as well. So
plus, I think that probably helps. There's a lot of new writers in the upcoming product. I mean, I'm looking at my secret report, which I'm not going to share with anybody here, and I'm looking at the names of some of the authors. They're not people who've written for us before, so it's not as if we're saying, "Yep, David Pulver and Phil Masters and a few other people are going to write everything, and the rest of you are all hosed. You're not going to get anything." It's not like that. It's there's a whole bunch of new writers actually. Now looking closer at my notes who have never written for us ever before, and they're coming in just fine. So what they did is they impressed me with their writing samples or with their approach. I mean, somebody sends me a perfect query, a letter with no spelling errors, and they say, and I've also written 26 things for nothing to do with games, and I've been a writer since I was 14 or whatever. And I look at the writing, and it's like it all shows. I'm not going to say, no, you can't write for us because I don't like you. It's of course, I'm going to say, yeah, give it a shot. What's the worst that can happen?
Sure. Mason Zedeker said, very cool. Is Ken Height in the mix somewhere?
Not this time, no, but Ken is in demand in the level where if we wanted to be in the mix, it'd be for 2025 or something. No, it's true. I mean, Ken's a great guy, but he's got obligations atop his obligations, sure. And realistically, ask him to say, "Oh, Ken, take a break and write more stuff for us too," is not going to happen anytime soon. Not because he doesn't like us or because we don't like him. I love Ken, but just because, well, if he's getting to write his own, say core game book or something like that, he's not going to say, "Oh yeah, I'm going to write a 10-page supplement over here on the side."
Yeah, it's like you said, nothing against Ken. He's done lots of awesome stuff with us, but yeah, just can't get him for everything, unfortunately. Could you elaborate? This is from Lord Tauron. Could you elaborate a little bit on what's in the How to Be a GM combat? I think we can. I think the guy who wrote it is here.
I don't know, man. That guy's a weirdo. He has multiple personalities. They don't remember each other. That's how he writes all that stuff. One is writing with the other is off playing golf. I don't play golf. Well, somebody plays golf, but I don't. Anyway, so yeah, I'm sure I can elaborate a little bit. It's to be really as simple as possible in my description. it's my experiences running GURPS I've run GURPS since there's been GURPS. So, but if you want a number, 35 years, how to make battles not just balanced, although that's a big part of the book, but also interesting and apropos, and how to plan them in a sensible way and how to wrap them up in a sensible way, and what you have to remember before you start the battle, and what you have to keep notes on after you've ended the battle, as well as how you keep it from going south in the middle of the battle when something doesn't go the way you planned it. All that stuff is practical advice, and it's not stats. It's not a number-based point system. There's that in a pyramid article if you want it. It's not challenge ratings and that sort of stuff, but it does take a sensible look at what sort of things you need to make a challenge, what things will make a challenge too challenging, what things will make a challenge a joke, and that's in a nutshell what's in there.
Yeah, and going back to the How to Be a GURPS GM, the original main book, the way I looked at it was kind of like it's How to Play GURPS for Dummies, those old for Dummies books, but just better written from people that actually ran campaigns. Like it doesn't just stat everything out, but it kind of teaches you how to be a good GM.
Yeah, there actually was a GURPS for Dummies, still is, I suppose.
There is.
And
Didn't know
yeah,
that.
really, yep, really. And it's a totally different approach. How to Be a GURPS GM is not the same approach. GURPS for Dummies is kind of like, I don't know, it's like you guys in the USA, because I'm a Canadian, you've got like I don't know, a notes series for famous
Oh yeah, Cliff
or
Notes
something. Cliff Notes. You got that? Okay, so we got that too. Except here we have Cole's Notes, because Cole's is a bookstore that did that. But anyway, same idea. That's kind of what For Dummies is. It's kind of
it's like the Cliff Notes.
Start. You don't want to read the whole thing. How to Be a GURPS GM is different. It's you read the whole thing and it didn't make sense to you. Here's whoa, back up, take a look. Here's what you really need to be focused on. Leave the other stuff for later. It's more advanced, and it's more of a it's more aimed at GMs. I think the title is a big hint. Whereas say GURPS for Dummies was aimed at everybody, and it was actually a little bit more player oriented. It was how to make your character effective and how to do things with your character. This is not that. The How to Be a GURPS GM series, which has become because it's now on. We revealed 1, 2, 3, 4 items. There's a 5th in this Kickstarter, because there's the core How to Be a GURPS GM. There's Ritual Path Magic, which came out last year. There's Managing Expectations, which is kind of about avoiding people being too disappointed when they find out the campaign is going the way they thought it would. And Combat Encounters, which is what we're talking about. And there's a 5th one in this Kickstarter, which I'll hint at. And it's by Christopher Rice, same guy who wrote the Ritual Path Magic. More than that, I shall not say, but it addresses not a genre or a system, but a concept, a bit like Managing Expectations or Combat Encounters does.
Well, there you go. Hope that answers your questions. And if anyone else has any other questions, feel free to drop them in there. We do have a couple more minutes here, but I did want to ask. I know we've gone back and forth even before the call. Like, what can we tease? What can we talk about? I think we've talked about a lot of stuff on here, and I don't want to reveal all the secrets or anything like that. But are there any themes coming up? So maybe like settings, not even specific stuff, but just like general themes coming up in the project that people might be on the lookout for or hopeful for, or something to aim for?
Sure. Okay, so we got the 4 that we've unlocked. We got the 1 that's at bat. We got the 2 in the graphics. That's 7 items that and I just coughed up a little clue about an 8th item from Christopher Rice. So that leaves 4 things that maybe, what are they? What's coming up? There's more action. I'll say there's more action. Ooh. There's more dungeon fantasy. And there's another interesting, cool kind of like location. It's not a big setting, but it's a location. And if people want me to go from yet another angle, one of them, 2 of them, in fact, are really adventures. And from yet another angle, I can reveal who the writers are. Sean Fisher wrote us one. Matt Rigsby wrote us another. And the Steins, Carolyn Ivy Stein and Steve Stein wrote another. And one more by me in there, too. And, of course, the Soldier Christopher's writing How to Be a GURPS GM. So that's quite a few hints right there.
That's a lot of hints.
those games where you have colors and numbers and street names, and you have to match them up and figure out who murdered who. You could probably do it from just what I said there. I think I gave you enough pieces of information.
There's some people right now putting pins in the board where they got red string going between them. There's author names and there's an adventure type and the themes. They're all making the connections.
Exactly, but I will say I wrote 2, and you've seen one of them. The other one, you just have to wait and see. And I edited 5 of these, and the rest of them are ones I've reviewed. And it's just like last year, exactly the same scheme. So I know what's in all the stuff. I'm not making things up to fill the air. Fill the air out with dead air. Get another 2 minutes to fill. I know exactly what's here. And I will say a couple other things. I'd say that we've got some cool cartography this time around. And this time around, also last year, 6 of the 12 could be loosely said to be adventures, encounters, or locations ready to use in-game content as opposed to stats and rules and advice and stuff. This year, it's up to more like 8 out of the 12, because that's the sort of thing I think is hard to create on the spur of the moment. And in fact, one of these, like here's another clue, one of these is actually specifically designed to help you with spur of the moment. Oh, we have nothing planned for tonight in the dog eater notes sort of moments. So it's in there as well. So it's a lot more ready-made, a little less, here's a wall of stats, do make characters or vehicles, whatever. It's a little less of that this year. I know some people will be disappointed to hear that, but at the same time, at least when I'm running games, the stuff I can't come up with at the last minute is, oh no, I just said there's one of these in here and I don't have a map of it. I have no clue. So it's collapsed pit in the ground and you're not going to go there. So this allows you to avoid a few of those.
Yeah, I mean, plus with a lot of these supplements, we're doing very specific things. So having stuff built for that is pretty useful to have.
Yeah, and I'll be interested to see, there was a game played last time around. People were saying, of these 12 items in the Kickstarter in 2020, there's a possible 12 times 11 divided by 2, 66 combinations. See, I can't do math. And come up with ways to use all 66 combinations of 2 supplements. And I'm really going to be curious to see if people play that game this year. I'd really be curious to see what they're going to do with a couple of these pairings. Because some of these pairings, I am challenged to come up with ways to make them work together, but I'm sure someone will.
Oh, we're talking about GURPS players. They'll figure it out.
There's that.
So I think that's, don't we have any, think of any other questions here from the chat, unless Brandon and Jimmy find something there. I do want to mention, so this is not a month-long campaign or anything like that. This is going on for 11 days. We're 11 days to go. So, if you want to keep an eye on it, that's fine, but you definitely want to get a bid in soon. Get your reward tier selected. And if you're interested in those signed slipcovers, those are very limited. Let's see. Oh, we got another question. Sorry. GURPS names like Dungeon Fantasy treasure tables, except for names. I guess that's a suggestion.
Oh,
GURPS names.
Sure. The big trouble of names being, of course, what culture, what background.
Yeah.
I've seen name generators. They're not nearly as small as you think they are. Actually, see, there's some really cool ones coded online. At this point, I'm not trying to disappoint anybody, but you should really check out the available online resources, because there's some amazing coding down on the web for totally free name generators. You put in your culture and how many names you want, how many syllables you want each name to have, and it'll chunk out a name for you just like that. And that's probably way better than a PDF which has a list of names. And by the way, I found a slipcase. Actually, I have a slipcase here. This is what the slipcase looks like.
Oh, there you go.
And it'll be reversed
exactly what it
my
is.
Camera. Yeah. Anyway.
There you go. So that's what you'll be getting just with Steve's signatures. What he'll say lowers the value of it.
No, I don't think it lowers the value. It
does not.
Probably allows you to, it may increase the value if you know what bank Steve uses. And
He was signing something the other day, not unrelated to his signature, and was like, he said out loud, he's like, I have to remember I'm not signing the pyramid.
Yeah, I have a different signature I use for my bank, and when I autograph books, they're not even remotely similar. You develop these strange survival skills when you're a writer.
Nice. Well, we do have one last question, I guess. A GURPS 5th edition in the works.
Well, maybe. I mean, never say never.
That's our normal response. We can't ever say never. Not currently.
It's one of those things that when 5th edition is in the works, we'll let people know. If 5th
sure.
edition is in the work, we'll let people know. But it's not like I'm going to say yes for sure or no, never, because neither of those responses, to be honest. But we're talking about the Magic 8-Ball, and so
Oh yeah.
reply hazy.
Yep. Oh yeah. But yeah, I want to thank Sean. Thank you for joining me for this. This is a really fun project. It's awesome to see it rise in real time as we're talking. Over the course of just this past hour, we're already up to $9,468, which is about $600 in 1 hour.
Yeah, that's cool.
It's
I
incredible.
hope people will keep going along with this, because, like I said, everything that's coming up is worth seeing light of day, and I'd hate to see it not unlocked. And it's not a hostage system. It's one thing I want to say before I sign off. It's not a hostage system. It's content that's created and eventually will show up, I guess. But at the same time, it's nice to see support for these writers and these projects and this game right now, because that's really the whole point of Kickstarter. It's support for creation, and this is in a very real way important to these writers to know that their work is worth the trouble it took for them to do it.
Yeah, exactly. Like right now, you're already getting PDFs for 75 cents each. We're not trying to hold anything hostage. The more this project raises, just allows us to give backers a better deal up front. Like the 2020 PDFs are still available for a great price. It's just it's not $3 for the entire project. We're essentially giving backers who are supporting these authors and supporting these projects the ability to get a lot of content for cheap. So
yeah, I mean, you get a lot of content for cheap. That's just nuts how much you get, really. I'm looking at these reward levels. It's like, whoa, this is not bad at all.
No, not at all. Not at all. Well, I want to thank everyone who's asked questions, who's hung in with us. If you're watching this after the fact, hopefully the campaign is still going. It should be linked below. Check that out. It's ending, I believe that's about 11 days from now. Won't be next Friday. I think it'll the beginning of the week after. But you got a little time left. So we just got started. We get to see what else we unlock. I want to thank everyone again for all what we have unlocked so far. Let's unlock even more. Give you guys some more of a deal here. I think the next one's at 11,000, so we're closing in on 10,000. Thanks again, Sean, for dropping by and answering all these questions.
Oh, thanks for listening to me stupid jokes. I'm always happy to talk.
Anytime, and they're not that stupid.
Well, that's good.
I love you, Sean. This is great. Well, thank you guys for watching SJGames Live, and we'll see you next week. Have a great weekend.